If you will listen, have faith, trust, and hope, she'll be there with you to help you cope. Never alone with Joyce Keller, the angel of the airwaves. The angel of the airwaves. Joyce Keller, the angel of the airwaves. Joyce Keller, the angel of the airwaves.
Hi everybody, Joyce Keller back with you tonight. And indeed we are live waiting for your emails, your phone calls, whatever you'd like. If you'd like to give us a call directly at WGBB 1240 AM, you can give us a call at 631-888-8811. And because we are live, we'll take your calls. You can email me at joycekeller@mindspring.com and I'll get your emails. A lot of them coming in already. And we have Brian at the controls back on Long Island, and he'll relay the calls to us. Let us know when you're holding, and we'll get to them as quickly as possible. We're discussing tonight one of my very, very favorite subjects, past life regression. Do you think you've lived before? You know, most of the world believes in reincarnation. It's only the United States and a few other countries that say, well, you know, maybe it's not true. The fact is, there's so much evidence, and we're going to be speaking about that tonight. And plus, we're going to be doing a live reading of one of the people in our audience, and we're going to see just what his past lives were. So we're going to get to that shortly. Wanted to tell you that one of my most recent books, I have a number of books out on the internet already and also in bookstores, but this book is really my favorite. It's the most recent. It's Karmascopes. Who might you have been in a past life? Who are your soulmates? Everything you need to know about past lives right in this book. And I wrote it just for you. So it's Karmascopes. Here you go. And if you go to my website, all the information's in there. I also wrote an article about past life regression in Fate magazine. Also one of my favorite magazines. This is sold absolutely everywhere, all over the world. It's Fate. It's actually the world's oldest metaphysical magazine. And I wrote an article, My Odyssey Through the Unexplained, and it's all about past lives. So you might want to pick that up. And that came out, I guess, a couple of months ago, so you'll be able to find that. My Odyssey Through the Unexplained, and again, it's Fate magazine. My most recent book is Karmascopes, and pardon the shameless plugs, but you know, I can't help it. That's just the way it is. So if you want to give us a call here at the radio station, it's 631-888-8811, WGBB, 1240 AM, WGBB, where great broadcasting begins. So, this is an old station, and it's a pleasure to be with them. So, in any case, do you think you've lived before? Do you have any evidence of that? Sometimes they tell us in dreams. I say they, I mean our angels, our guides, you know, God. We have dreams about a knowingness. We've been someplace, or we go somewhere, and you say, I think I've been here before. And, you know, you're in Europe, or you're someplace you've never been before. Let this, you know, the whole thing is so familiar. The cobblestones, everything feels like it's something that you've felt before, that you've experienced before. Phobias. Why are we all so afraid of certain things? Spiders. You know, the list is long. Certain kinds of creatures. You know, it's like there's no explaining it. Okay, also, there are child prodigies. Why does that little 7-year-old or 3-year-old know how to play the piano? You know, I have the ability to play almost anything by ear. And even before I took music lessons, I mean, music lessons to me were a joke. I sat there patiently listening to my music teacher, but I wanted her just to leave me alone. I just have naturally good sense of musical memory, and if I hear a note, I know what it is. I just have great musical memory. So that's also a gift from past lives. And when you've done it a lot and you're finished doing it, you don't want to do it anymore. I said to my parents, I don't want to take piano lessons. You're annoying me. They said, no, you have to go. We have a piano. So they made me take piano lessons, which was really a complete waste, by the way. So those abilities that we have are from past lives. So we have prodigies and abilities like musical talent and poetry and the things that we love most of all and soulmates. You see someone on the bus, you really can relate to that person. You say, I know who this person is. I think I want to marry them. They're minding their own business. They're sitting across the way from you on the bus, and yet you know that you're going to meet. So by the time the bus stops, you get off, you're talking, and you probably do marry the person. Those are all past life memories, and reconnecting with our soul's memories. You have a lot of the phobias that we just discussed before. Why are we so afraid? I mean, you have snakes, you have spiders, the whole thing. And psychiatrists work overtime to get rid of those phobias. They should go into past life memories. I'm a past life certified hypnotherapist, so I work very hard getting people to relate to their past lives and to understand the memories that really cause them problems. Those are all past lives. And this current lifetime that you have is like the tip of an iceberg. Just that little bit that you see sticking up on top of the iceberg. What's below the surface? Well, all those past lives, that's what we're talking about, past life regression. So we need to know really who we are. And once you start understanding, either through hypnotherapy or through dreams or meditation, and you start understanding why you have the problems that you have. Why do you dislike this person so much? Why do you like them? Why are you instantly attracted, instantly repelled? All of that is past lives. A lot of people don't believe in it. What's déjà vu? Perfect example, right? Déjà vu, past lives. You've been in that spot before. You probably lived or died there. I recently spoke to someone who had a tremendous fear of, you're not going to believe this, strawberries. Why was he so afraid of strawberries? Under regression, it turned out that he had choked to death on a strawberry. He said, how could anyone die from a strawberry? He did. Okay? So anything is possible. I wanted to do a little tuning in now, if I could get someone from our very vast audience to come up here and sit with me. I would appreciate it. Sir, would you like to join me, please? Come to my little hot seat over here. Come and join me, sir. Can you come and join me? He doesn't want to. Come on. Come over here, sir. Come on. Come and sit here. He's afraid. He's afraid I'm going to talk to him about his phobias. Come and sit with me. What's your name?
John Willis.
John Willis?
Yes.
What? No, let's name my literary agent.
Really? What's his name?
John Willig. Willig. You're John Willis.
Willis, yeah. Not Willig.
Okay. I think I'm just going to be quiet for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could just kind of close your eyes. Just relax. Okay, very good. The first thing I'm starting to pick up when I look at you is I see an old monk. Very old monk. And you know what you're doing? You're using calligraphy, and you're working on a Bible, and you're copying the words of the Bible. You spent a whole lifetime just writing the Bible. I don't know if you can relate to that at all. It's the first lifetime I see for you.
Yeah.
Okay, does that make sense? It's like in the 1600s?
Yeah, I think I've had a religious life.
Oh, really? You've had many. Okay, you have a lot of... are you interested in religion now, or are you agnostic?
I was agnostic, then I began
You know why?
more spiritual, and then I realize now that there's God, and that the way to God is within ourselves.
Okay. I think a lot of times we become saturated with many lifetimes, one right after another, the same kind. So you just want something different. So then you become, to balance our soul's energy. You have many lifetimes of being religious as you are. You've had more than your share. You were a priest, you were everything. And you come to a point where you reject the whole thing. You say, I'm going to balance out now. I'm not going to believe in anything. Or I'm going to try to be as balanced as possible. You also had a lot of lifetimes sailing out on the sea. Do you like the sea?
Yeah. I can see that, yes.
Yeah, and excellent sense of direction. And you always know where you are. Okay,
Quite good at
not
that,
get
yeah.
lost. Okay, and most of all, I think that you're searching for yourself. You're looking for that inner spark of who and what you are, and you're on a mystical path, even though no one knows that about you. You seem to be always searching for your soul.
It's true.
And soul's energy.
Very good.
I want to thank you very much. It was very nice. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's Stay Out of Trouble.
Right.
Okay. Wanted to do some emails now. We have emails coming in. We have one coming in from, looks like Florida. And this is from Tom in Florida. He wants to know who he was in a past life. And he says he has dreams of flying all the time. Who hasn't? We all have those flying dreams. What are those flying dreams? Well, Tom, this really applies to you. And I would guess almost to anything that you're a pilot in this lifetime because you have such a soaring free spirit. We absolutely love that about you, Tom. I don't know if we've ever spoken, but I just have this wonderful free energy about you. And you love flying. You probably have your own pilot's license, and your dream is to have your own little plane. In the meantime, you're probably flying for an airline, so I'm going to ask you if that's correct. Looking for confirmation from Tom for that reading. Okay, we have another one from Lenore. Lenore in Kansas. Lenore is asking about her departed mother. Your mom's doing fine, by the way. We're not doing so much in the way, Lenore, of spirit contact tonight, although we usually do that. We're talking more about past lives, so I'll see if I can tune into a past life for you. If I had to tune into you, I'm feeling that you have a problem with family, like serious family issues and discord in the family. And a lot of this is very seated in your past lives, Lenore, I have to tell you. You had issues with your parents in a previous lifetime where it's as if you weren't abandoned, but you were sold or given away at an early age because they had so many children and the family was so poor, so they gave you away. And I don't know if they were paid or what, but you spent your whole life in servitude. So you have a real feeling of resentment and almost hostility toward family. And really, it wasn't their fault. They had like 12 children. You were like the 13th. So you have family issues now. Wanted to tell you, if you want to join us, we're here. And if you give us a call, Brian at the station will take your call. We're here at 631-888-8811, speaking mostly tonight about past life regression. Who were you? Who do you think you were? And what phobias do you have? How can you get rid of them? If you have a phobia, what can you do about it? You know, you're so afraid of heights. That's probably the most common one. I mean, there's so many. You know, my favorite is trichodictophobia. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Trichodiscophobia. That's fear of Friday the 13th. My own personal favorite. Fear of Friday the 13th. Yes, that's a scary one. Watch out for those black cats. You know, really, is that founded in truth? Well, a lot of fears are from childhood, too. And, you know, my mother always said, don't put shoes on the bed. Don't spill salt. If you spill salt, throw it over your shoulder. My mother had a lot of superstitions, I have to tell you. Don't open an umbrella in the house. It's another one. A lot of these are based on past life experiences and past life truths. You know, it's like, why can't I open an umbrella in the house? She said, because someone will die. And I said, so when she wasn't looking, I opened an umbrella, and just to test it. And someone usually died. So I have to say, my mother knew. Okay, I have a lot of emails coming in. I have an email from Sarah in Connecticut. Sarah, looking for a soulmate. Interesting. You know, even though tonight we're not talking so much about soulmates, we're speaking mostly about past life regression. Again, soulmates, though, as I went to great detail about in my book, Karmascopes, most of the soulmates that we attract to us and who are attracted to us and, you know, mutually, and twin souls and twin flames, all of that is based on past life regression. It's very rarely from this current lifetime. So, Sarah's asking about her soulmate, and my feeling is that you've met him already in this lifetime. And this is someone, I believe, that you work with, Sarah. This is someone that you know very well, and you have gone out with him. And yet this sparks, the electricity didn't work. It just wasn't great for both of you. In that case, maybe the karma is over. The karma can end, you know. You don't have to go on forever. At a certain point, you can say, that's enough. Like with the Kennedy family, perfect example. They should all be very tired of each other, right? They keep incarnating together. They keep dying together. They kill each other. They die. You know, it's so layered. And the karma just gets worse and worse. Like one Kennedy recently killed herself. Very layered karma. And Oh, I think I'll write my next book, Layered Karma. But the fact is that it's very complicated, and you have to dig in, and you have to find out what's really going on. And I think that, speaking of the Kennedys, Caroline Kennedy is a very interesting case. Of all the Kennedys, I think that she is probably the most progressive, the most evolved, and she has a knowingness about her. If you look at her face, look at her eyes, you can see that she knows she's not going to be a Kennedy after this lifetime. She has had it up to here. The brother, the flying, the whole thing. Did he know how to fly? Well, I think he had just gotten his license that morning, I'm not sure. But he shouldn't have been flying, and he shouldn't have been, doing what he did. So, like all of us, we're here on the earth to learn. It's all a big growth experience. It's a learning experience. So, take it in stride, meditate, try to find out just what it's all about, and you'll grow. Okay, Joyce Keller Show. Give us a call, 631, a lot of calls holding, 888-8811. Also, email Joyce Keller at Mindspring. We'll try to get to your calls. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Someone wrote in and they said, why do we have past life recall when we're in great places like Rome? Like when Jack and I went to the Colosseum, I felt like we had been there. I felt like I had been eaten by a lion, to tell you the truth. I didn't love the Colosseum, but you have a feeling of knowingness, and you've been there before. Well, somebody wrote, well, why don't they have these experiences in Gary, Indiana, or Greenwich, Connecticut? Well, maybe we do. It can be any place. Sometimes you just walk into it could be Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I had deja vu experiences all the time. Don't ask. They just happen. It's like you've been there before and you know it. Okay. One guy wrote in because he has a fear of pickles. I swear to you this is true. Pickles. I'm not kidding. Pickles, as in dill, the big green things. And he wanted to know why he was afraid of pickles. I said, I can't believe this. I'm trying to contain myself and be serious. In the meantime, the man is suffering because every time he sees a pickle, he goes crazy. So I said, okay, let's do this. So we regressed him. And it turns out that he actually drowned in a vat of pickle juice, or pickle brine, because he worked in a pickle factory in the 1800s when they had pickle factories. Now everything comes from, I don't know where the pickles come from, but I don't know if they had that same briny situation. He fell into a whole vat of pickle brine. Poor guy was finished. Okay, so he's not a big fan of dills. Okay. A lot of emails coming in. Okay, keep them coming. All right, we have one from Letitia. Letitia, is that correct? Letitia? Okay, Letitia says she has a fear of dogs. She wants to know why. Letitia fears dogs. A lot of people do. Well, I think a lot of people were probably attacked by wolves. And, we don't see wolves on the street, but we do see dogs. So if Letitia was going to be regressed, I'm sure it would come out that she has, a real fear of wolves rather than dogs. But don't forget, even those little cute chihuahuas, the little tiny ones, are still in the dog family. So my feeling is about Letitia that it's very related to the wolf family. And indeed, wolves, when they're hungry and there's a whole pack of them, it's anyone's guess. So we have Letitia and the dog fear. Good, that was a good fear. A lot of people are afraid of dogs. I don't know, can a dog eat a person? Well, like the dingo ate my baby. Look, anything is possible. So, okay. Jack, did you ever hear of any fears like that? What are you afraid of besides me? Are you afraid of anything? What's your greatest fear?
My favorite? How can you have a favorite fear?
What's your favorite fear? What's your greatest fear?
I think I have somewhat of a fear of heights.
Heights?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And also a bit claustrophobic, too.
Really? But that's true of probably everyone. I don't think yours is abnormal.
I guess everyone's had a past life where they've fallen off the side of a mountain or from a tree and have been maybe buried in a cave-in of some sort.
Definitely. Caves. I won't go into a cave. I mean, suppose you're in a cave and then there's an earthquake. You're finished, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people
maybe.
say,
Could be. Yeah.
People say, I saw them go into the cave. Well, of course. Does it take a genius to figure out not to go in there? You want me to, what are those people called, spelunkers or something? Who knows? People do all sorts of odd things that they shouldn't be doing.
I remember the guy who had to cut his arm off to escape
Really?
about a year ago. Yeah.
Where was he?
Big rock or a boulder came down on top of him and right on top of his arm.
I remember that.
He couldn't get free, and eventually he
I remember.
he literally cut off his arm.
My God, that's
and
horrible.
was able to get out, and he's alive today, as far as I know.
That's horrible. So he had to chew off his own arm?
So they cut it off. I guess he had a hunting knife or something
Called
with
a
him.
dingo. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, sometime Joyce has to put glasses on. All right, let's see. I mean, some of these I just respond to while we're on the air, so you don't have to do it. You don't have to, because, you know, a lot of the readings are very much the same. I don't want to tell you that you all have pretty much the same problems, but you do. Let's give the list. Right now, because our economy is kind of in the dumper, money, but people are always looking for soulmates. Honest to God, you could be starving to death, God forbid, and you could be going through terrible things, and you'll still be looking for a soulmate or someone to love you, because that's just the way we are. It's just, you know, people love love. We are people who enjoy going through life with other people. And the economy, those two things. So I wanted to tell you about this book, 2012. A lot of concern about 2012. Right now, we're about halfway into the year. Wait, what's today's date? We're about at that halfway mark of the year. I mean, the year is almost half gone because we're live tonight, but we're going to be repeating the show on Blog Talk Radio and other places also. And people are very concerned about the end of this year. And I think the worst thing you can do is add more concern to it, more negativity. Nothing is, that I know of, or that I have many psychic friends, no one is saying, yeah, December 21st, 2012, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everything goes dark. Nothing like that's going to happen. But there might be, as you can see, a lot of changes on the earth, a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of energies are skewed. The good thing about this year is that almost everyone's unemployed, which is really good because, you know what? It's forcing you to turn within and to try to figure out who you are, what you want out of life, where you're going. Try to figure out what would really make you happy, because this business of staying with one company 30, 40 years and getting a gold watch, that doesn't work anymore. It's time now to find out what you really are all about. What do you really want out of life? What would make you happy? A lot of people are becoming very metaphysical. They've been nurses, doctors, whatever, for their whole lives, and they didn't realize all along that they were actually doing psychic readings. They were tuning into people, and they realized that this is something that is very, very natural. It's a part of the brain that we all should be using. It's a psychic part of the brain. So we're going to be speaking more about 2012 as we go through the rest of the show. Okay, more emails coming in. Thank you for that. I'll give you the email address. It's Joyce Keller at mindspring.com. I'll spell that for you. JoyceKeller at mindspring.com. Okay? Wanted to give you that email address. All right, we have our next email is from Barry. Barry's in Florida, okay? And his birthday is 12/6/88. He gave his birthday because he knows I do a little astrology and numerology. And Barry is asking about whether he should buy a new car now. He's unemployed. His car is not running. Well, you know, he's very lucky. He lives in Florida, because I understand in Florida a lot of people don't have cars anymore. Of course, you know, at a certain age you shouldn't be driving anymore. I'm not saying Florida has a lot of old people, but I'm saying at a certain point maybe you should be walking carefully. And maybe this is crazy. I saw a lot of people on golf carts, and you don't need a license for that. You can just drive anywhere, and they drive them on the street. They go to Walmart in their golf cart, and they say, I don't care that I don't have my license anymore. So take a golf cart, Barry, if you can't get your... He wants a new car. Okay, I shouldn't be flippant, right? You need a new car, Barry. Not till next spring. In the meantime, then you'll have a new job also. But in the meantime, I think you're just going to have to suffer along with what you have and have it repaired. That's not so bad, right? I also feel, Barry, you have a lot of musical talent that you're not using. When I tune into you, I hear music playing, and it feels like a very natural kind of musical composition that you're doing and creating yourself. So you might be writing some of that down. Okay, I'm asking the audience now to email me in and tell me what you think, or call at 631-888-8811, and we'll take your call as soon as possible. Tell me what you think is going to happen in 2012. Jack, what do you think is going to happen in 2012, the rest of the year, the second half? Is it curtains for everyone, or? I don't think so.
Well, I think to some degree a lot depends on the election, who's our next president.
How can that be a factor? I don't think it matters at all. I don't think it matters who's elected.
I think there's not going to be big changes. I don't think there's much basic difference between a Democrat or a Republican being in office. I won't say any more about that because they might come and get me, but
I'm sure.
Why does our Congress have, what, 10,000 lobbyists telling them what to do and what to vote for and what not to vote for? And why do so many congressmen, when they retire, get cushy jobs in some of the industries that, or companies in which they've been involved with the legislature during their term in office?
Do you think it could be a little graft?
Would a den of thieves be appropriate?
Obviously, you don't have a high opinion of our legislation.
No, I'm afraid our government has gone downhill for many decades now.
You know, Jack...
Wasn't it Eisenhower said, kind of warned us about the industrial might? And
yes.
See, he was a general, so he hated war. Can you imagine how many letters he had to write to relatives of the people who were killed under his command?
Exactly.
And he knew that there was a link between industry and wars. Now, the Second World War may have been justified. I mean, certainly when we got in...
I don't think war is ever... Is war ever justified?
I mean, it wasn't justified in the part of the Nazis and Mussolini and so forth, but...
we have to protect ourselves.
Yeah, but I think sometimes a lot of motivation is the wrong sort, and it's profits.
Okay, well, that's very interesting, Jack.
But I think that 2012 is a change of consciousness period of time.
How so?
As we pass through this alignment with the center of the galaxy, our own galaxy, Milky Way. I think it actually is the end of a 25,000 year age.
Yes.
Kali Yuga, was it the one that's going out?
It's the end of the age of Kali Yuga.
Yeah, so there's bound to be a big change in the way we think and our attitude because of that.
What about the other ages, the Iron Age? Are we still in the Iron Age, or is this the
No, that's a different. That's an age.
It's a different system.
A historical age based on, well, there's a Stone Age, which for a long time, all that people knew how to make were maybe arrowheads and spears and things out of stone and some stone utensils. And then next they discovered, I guess, copper and then tin and then bronze. And that was called the Bronze Age for, I don't know, maybe a couple of thousand years or more. And they finally discovered iron and started making weapons and armor out of iron. That was the Iron Age. And that took us right up to the Industrial Age when we started to mass manufacture things using industrial techniques of interchangeable parts. You don't have to make one of a thing, you just make hundreds or thousands of parts exactly the same, and then you can put them together and you've got a rifle or a machine of some sort, whatever. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
You don't usually talk about that. You usually talk about other things. What's your favorite topic? Your favorite metaphysical topic? Meditation. Yoga?
Well, I think meditation is very important, and I'll tell you why. I've lately come to realize, I think, in my opinion, at this point in space and time, that God is within, not out, not through any religious establishment. But all these, I'm not saying anything against them, that they're good in many ways.
You're going to criticize
for many people,
something now.
But ultimately, when you want to really go for that brass ring, and that is reunion with the spark of God that is within everyone's soul, you reach what's called God realization, where you realize you are God. I am that I am, or be still and know that I am God, and within everyone. And Jesus said this. He said, all these things I do greater than these, you shall do also, and greater than these. Now he was, if anyone, was God realized. He had the power of God. He could heal. He could provide food for multitudes from universal abundance, you know. And that's the message he tried to bring to us.
You think people heard that message or have heard it throughout the ages?
I think it's been diverted. I think there's too much, maybe in a certain religion, there's too much attention to his death and his hanging on a cross, and that we have to atone for our sins because he died for us. He died for us, yes, to give us, to show us a life goes on, because he was one of the few, if any, that took his literally took his body with him, so he could use it in the future. Because I believe he's come back in the flesh many times since that time 2,000 years ago. But he was telling us a straight thing, and as you were saying, past lives. Well, my gosh, what did he say? Well, one thing he said is, before Moses was, I was. Another time the disciples are questioning him and is saying, who are you, Master? Some people say you're Elijah. And he said, I tell you, Elijah has already come. And they treated him as they would, as they willed. And then the disciples realized he was speaking of John the Baptist. And in a previous life, as far as my understanding is, Elijah was Jesus' guru when Jesus was Elisha, with him in that same life. But then apparently the student surpassed the master, and
that happens.
And John, his previous guru, said, I'm not worthy to tie his sandals, because he had progressed to such a great extent by the time he came back as Jesus. His soul name, by the way, I believe is Sananda. That's A-N-D-A. And he's indicated he's from the Pleiades, that star cluster.
Where are
seven sisters in the sky.
Does anyone know where Pleiades is?
Oh, sure. Any astronomer knows where it is, and any
for those of
amateur
us who are not astronomers.
And you can see it very clearly on a good, clear night. So
I'm still looking for the Milky Way. I mean,
well, you have to have a clear night, and you see sort of a faint whitish band going across the sky. Because that's most of the. We have a, what would you call, not an elliptical galaxy, but a sort of a circular galaxy, like a wheel. And most of the stars lie within a certain range within that wheel. So you're looking in that direction. Toward the rim of the wheel, you see this milky band of stars that you cannot even make out individually unless you have a good telescope, but it gives a whitishness to the sky.
Okay, we have a comment from Fran in Boston, who said, how do you know?
How do I know what?
What you were just talking about. She says, how does he know this? That's the question. So just elucidate, if you will, about...
If you read the Gospels of the New Testament of the Christian Bible, you can see these things. Another thing, he was asked by his disciples when they came upon a blind man, he said, Master, who sinned? Was it this man or his parents that sinned, that he was born blind? Now, what does that tell you, you know? how could you sin and then be born blind because of it unless you had lived before, existed before in some way? So there are many instances, surprisingly, because I think the early church would have tried to remove as much as they could about reincarnation and past lives, because...
Like the library at Alexandria was burned down, right? And that was very rich in historical information. They didn't hesitate to get rid of that, so that certainly is true. You know,
but I would like to point out there are other... You can't... There are other volumes that speak about Jesus. One of them is the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, 5-volume set. From DeVours, I think it is, in California, written by a man named Baird Spalding, who with a group of other Americans went
Wait, what year was that? 1988?
Around the 1900, just before 1900, and a few years before and after 1900.
Okay.
And they went through India, they went through Tibet and others. They met with many masters that did incredible things.
Like becoming invisible. Yeah. That's my favorite. And
on occasion, Jesus and Buddha would come in and give them some really great insight to what's what.
Yeah, but I love that book. It's a series, as Jack said, of 6 books, and 5 or 6.
I think 5.
I think they had added
maybe
possibly
6.
one more. But at one point, they talk about how the masters give instructions on how to become invisible. And it's like, sure, I'm going to do this now. And you raise your energy to such a point, like when the blades of a fan are turning, you can't see them. The energy and the vibration is so high, the frequency is so elevated that you say, that fan has no blades. Actually, they're turning so quickly, and the rapid energy makes them invisible. So in, I think, Volume 2 or Volume 3, they have this whole discourse about how to become invisible, which, of course, I tried.
Yeah.
You still see me? Can you see me?
Sometimes I feel I am invisible when I'm waiting for service at a counter of a store somewhat, and see other people get waited on first. So maybe I am invisible. Maybe I'm doing it unconsciously, right?
That's the secret of becoming invisible. You go to a store and you try to get some service. You are invisible. You see? That's faster than Baird Spalding's discourse about how to become invisible, according to the masters, the ascended masters.
Also, a lot of this was explained in Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi by his guru, Sri Yukteswar.
Good old Sri.
Who explained almost, you might say, in a quantum physics way of what this was all about. And if you realize that basically everything is energy, it kind of crystallizes into matter. And but if you divide the matter finely enough, you get back to just energy. The elemental particles like electrons and protons and photons and what else.
What's a photon? Can you tell me,
please? Photon is considered a quantum of light. And there's 2 theories. There's a vibrational theory where energy goes in a wave form, and also quantum physics that feels it moves in discrete quantities, tiny quantities, like photons of light, small particles of energy of different types.
You realize we lost our whole audience.
Well,
anyone
the question was asked, how do I know? I'm just pointing out some of the things.
No, we started talking about photons. Why don't you tell us, so it's understandable, but why you think this is true? Yeah,
and also it seems that many scientists, quantum physicists and others, now believe there is God, that there's the discourse between heredity or Darwinism, where something evolves because of necessity, and intelligent creation. And more, someone I just read recently, a physicist of some sort, he said, look at the universe. There's no way this could just evolve by chance.
Right.
This was designed. This was planned by an incredible intelligence and creative power. We have these concerns and fears, and I think if you look at the big picture, they don't seem to be as important.
Before you talk about the big picture, let's just give a little station ID and say, folks are listening to the Joyce and Jack Keller Show, and because we are videotaping, Jack is behind the camera, so you're only hearing him, not seeing him. And we're here at WGBB, where Great Broadcasting Begins at 1240 AM radio. And we're also on the web at www.am1240wgbb.com. And also my website is joycekeller.com. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, think of have some perspective, the perspective of space and the perspective of time. Now, you've already gone into the perspective of time somewhat because of reincarnation and past lives, where we may have lived hundreds of lives. Maybe not all in this.
Oh, there were the in-between incarnations.
And are very important. And then there's the perspective of space. Other planets, they can actually see.
What about in-between?
Well, then you have the in-between times, too, the non-physical, which...
Where do people go in between, do you think?
Pardon me?
Where do you think people go in between lifetimes?
I don't know. As you say, they go somewhere. They change the vibration, a higher vibration, a higher frequency, and they're at a different level of existence. And they, to me, from what I believe or understand, is that a planetary life is like a semester in school. You learn a lot when you're in the physical body. And then when you leave it for a while, it's almost like vacation. You go home. You go home and take it easy and relax and rest and enjoy. And
you think?
Until the time comes when the lessons have to resume again and you are counseled. Again, thinking of the books by Helen Wambach, Life Before Life and Life After Life, whatever. With all the thousands of people she regressed and all the things they found out, not only about past lives, but in between times, how people are counseled, and sometimes they have to have a little urging to go again because the
encouragement.
Encouragement, yeah. The physical life is...
They don't want to go back to the...
Yeah, the physical life is not as easy as the in-between time, the non-physical. So there's a lot to this. As Shakespeare said, there are more things between heaven and earth, Horatio, than in your philosophy.
That you ever dreamed of in your philosophy. It's so funny. I wanted to mention that, and I completely forgot about it. I wanted to give the exact quotation, which you came to very closely. Let's see. Yeah, you got it right. There are more things in between heaven and earth, Horatio, than dreamt of in your philosophy. So you got it right.
Dreamt of? Oh. Really? I'm not sure that dreamt of.
You know where this whole situation of believing in reincarnation came about in this current experience? I mean, of course, the world has always believed in it, India and the whole rest of the planet. But in this country, it seemed mostly to start with the book The Search for Bridie Murphy. You know that?
Yeah.
And no one knows really when and where that one came about, but that suddenly hit off a whole storm of people debating whether reincarnation was true.
And there's so much evidence. I mean, you've mentioned several. You mentioned prodigies. You've mentioned deja vu. There's also past lives, right in what Jesus said, that were missed somehow by the shall we say, the editors.
Well, what do you think deja vu is?
Well, because you have a strong past life memory that comes through when you go to a certain place that you used to live in a previous lifetime. Maybe the most recent one of the more recent ones. There are stories about, especially in India, we both read about young children.
A lot of young children.
That say, I've got to go to a certain village. And okay. And she goes to and she goes to a family, count the floorboards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, pull up that floorboard. Gold under it. And sure enough, because she was, and then when she died, she knew that the father had hidden the gold board.
What's my favorite movie? And I'm mentioning this because of reincarnation.
The favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. What is it?
Defending Your Life.
Right. Slash The Joyce Keller Show. He knows how we leave Jack out of that because that's what we like. Okay? And I wanted to, let's see, I was going to ask you about something which I completely forgot about. We were talking about different past life death experiences, the things that we fear most of all. Like, I really cannot swim. I have a real problem with water. Okay, I almost drowned in this lifetime a couple of times. Doesn't help at all. But I know I was born this way. I also wanted to ask you all about birthmarks. I have two, and see them, but they're this one on my inner right calf and the other one on my mid. Both, like, my mother called them coffee stains. They're like little brown stains. And I'm wondering, what are birthmarks? People have horrendous birthmarks. On, I think, one of our recent shows, I mentioned that my mother, and she had she was born in a natural, so you can't say, well, the doctors tore it open with forceps. No, she was eating like a wound immediately. So, some of your superstition, some of your belief system. I have an obscure business suggestion for you. The valued sum of $21 million, $21,300 billion, there's a lot of zeros, I have no idea what this is, for our client who was with the Iraq forces, and it goes on and on and on like this. I mean, I thought it was, when I first looked at it, I thought it was from one of you. But when I saw they were giving me $21 billion, I said, no, this is not our audience. And I realized, it's like, but it goes on and on about how I should send him money and that how we're going to split it, and he's going to get this money for me, this 20, whatever it is, and contact him via his private mailbox, which is VISIMON, VI-Simon, 920@yahoo.com for more details. And then he signs it respectfully, Simon Yee. Hey, Simon, we're going to split the 21 zillion, right? Is that it? What's the point of this? Just to aggravate me? I mean, I receive about 50 of these a day.
Yeah. You'd think this would end. I mean, nobody believes this any. I'm sure even the most
gullible among us.
Gullible, yes,
the
and
most gullible
sheltered people by now realize this is.
I mean, I would hope that people. Why are they still saying? I receive so many a day.
Well, I'm afraid if it didn't work, they wouldn't bother. I think maybe some people still
really?
do.
They want to do
fall into it and give their information and.
They want that now. I'm not going to test it.
I said to spend an eternity in hell with you than a day in heaven without you.
You see, that's true love. You would do that, right?
Absolutely. And next thing you know, I see you're skeptical. Next thing up in heaven because of maybe awakening her consciousness. She was sort of putting herself of what she thought.
That's so sad.
Some unnecessary guilt.
Again, you're beating up
committing
religion?
Suicide.
That you like to beat
Well, where does it come from?
Not from me. I don't tell you to beat up religions.
Right.
Path and Father were really great. They said yoga means union with God, and it's with the higher. So I was untainted by religion, except when my sons got hold of me and they said, "You're going to hell if you listen." So I'm in the Catholic Church. Oh, beautiful being with you this last hour. Brian, thank you very much for getting WGBB being behind us all these years. And until next time, don't drive fast and play. This is Joyce and Jack Keller. Have a very good night. Thanks for being with us.